Welcome to Analytically Delicious, Insights into Food Safety by LVA. Join us as we explore the latest developments, trends, and challenges in ensuring the safety of our food supply through analytical techniques, uncovering the science behind what makes our food safe and delicious.
Welcome back to Analytically Delicious, the podcast where we unravel the science behind food safety and the world of analytical chemistry, proudly brought to you by LVA. In each episode, we explore innovations and key developments that are shaping the future of food analysis, offering valuable insights from leading experts. I'm your host, Katharina Stollewerk, and today we are diving into a critical but often overlooked component of laboratory testing: reference materials. These materials serve as a foundation for ensuring accuracy and consistency in analytical testing. Whether we're talking about mycotoxins, pesticides, or other contaminants, having reliable reference materials is essential for achieving precise and comparable results across different labs and testing methods. In fact, without them, it would be nearly impossible to ensure that food testing meets the high standards required for consumer safety. Our guest today is a true expert in this field, Dr. David Steiner. With over a decade of experience in food safety and mycotoxin analysis, David has held senior positions at Roma Labs in Austria and the UK, as well as at Valneva. He's now leading the reference material production and development efforts at LVA, Austria's largest private food testing laboratory. In addition to his impressive career, David was honored by the American Chemical Society in 2021 with the Best Research Article of the Year award in the field of agrochemicals, a prestigious recognition of his contributions to the industry. We are excited to have David here today to share his extensive knowledge on reference materials, why they are so important, and how the work of LVA is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in food safety testing. Let's get started. So, hello David, it's good to have you here today.
Hello Katharina, it is a great pleasure to be here today, and I'm very honest, it feels a little bit strange to be at this side of the interview, but I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Good, so let's get started. David, you've spent over a decade working in analytical chemistry, particularly in the field of mycotoxin analysis. And today we are excited to talk about reference materials and the work LVA has been doing in this area. Could you start by telling us a little about your current role and why reference materials are such a crucial aspect of the analytical process?
Yes, of course. So, Katharina, as you mentioned, I lead the department for reference materials and at LVA. And recently, we have been focusing on developing reference materials for mycotoxins, especially since September 2023, when we launched our line of liquid standards for use in LC-MS analysis. So these materials cover all the mycotoxins which are regulated under the European Contaminants Regulation with the number 915 from the year 2023. Mm-hmm. To explain why reference materials are so important, let me maybe give you a very simple example. So imagine you are a baker and every day you need to make the same recipe for bread. Mm-hmm. Now, if you don't have a reliable measuring scale or a consistent set of ingredients, the results could be widely different each time. So one loaf might be too salty, mm-hmm. another one maybe not salty enough, or the texture might be off. So it's basically the same in analytical chemistry. Without reliable reference materials, which are essentially our standardized ingredients, the results of an analysis could vary from lab to lab, or even within the same lab over a time. So when you're analyzing something like a mycotoxin, which can have serious implications for food safety, mm-hmm. you need to ensure that your measurements are accurate and consistent. Mycotoxins are toxic compounds produced by certain fungi, mm-hmm. and the levels that are deemed safe for human consumption are very tightly regulated, as I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Using reference materials allows labs to calibrate the instruments properly, also validate their methods, and ensure that the results they are reporting are both accurate and comparable to results from another lab. Mm-hmm. In practice, mm-hmm. this means that the lab testing, let's say corn or wheat for aflatoxins, can trust that the results will be consistent with the official limits set by regulation because they have calibrated the instruments using certified reference materials. Without them, the reliability of the entire food safety testing process could be compromised.
So that's a great example, David. You mentioned the term certified reference material just now. For our listeners who may not be familiar with the distinction, could you explain what a certified reference material actually is and how it differs from non-certified reference materials? Why is that certification so important in the context of analytical testing?
Yeah, that's actually a very important distinction to clarify. So, a certified reference material, or also known as CRM, is essentially the gold standard when it comes to reference materials. So CRMs undergo a rigorous process of production and validation in order to ensure their accuracy and reliability. So they are accompanied by a certificate, as you mentioned, that provides detailed information about the material, such as its precise composition, the method used for its preparation, and also the uncertainty of the measurement. So this certification process is often carried out by accredited organizations following international standards like ISO 17034, which ensures that the material has been thoroughly tested and can be used with high confidence. So now let's compare that to non-certified reference materials. These materials can still be useful, but they haven't undergone the same level of verification. They might be produced in a more routine manner without the extensive documentation or validation that comes with a certified reference material. Non-certified reference materials can be helpful for certain types of quality control or routine analysis, but when you need a higher degree of confidence, especially for regulatory compliance or in critical industries like in food safety or pharmaceuticals, CRMs are really essential. So the difference becomes especially clear when we talk about the traceability. CRMs are traceable to international standards, meaning that the values they carry can be linked back to globally recognized measurements. This is crucial because it allows different labs, potentially in different countries, to compare their results and ensure consistency. Otherwise, everybody would measure and analyze something which is not comparable with results from different countries or laboratories. So, for example, if you are testing for a mycotoxin like aflatoxin A in different grain samples using a CRM, means you can be confident that your results are comparable with those from another lab halfway around the world. So that kind of confidence is what makes certified reference materials indispensable in high-stakes field of like in mycotoxin testing.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense, David. You mentioned ISO 17034, which sounds like a crucial standard for reference materials. Are the standards produced by LVA currently accredited to this ISO standard? And if not, how does LVA ensure that its products still meet these high quality requirements?
Yeah, that's also a good question, Katharina. So while our reference materials are not yet officially accredited under this standard, we are actively working towards this goal. So as I mentioned earlier, we only began developing this production line about a year ago, and building such a complex area from the ground up requires not only immense technical know-how, but also a great deal of trust in the product design. So it's been a huge team effort to bring everything together, from R&D to quality control, and ensuring that we are delivering top-tier reference materials to the market. Right now, our products are developed following the strict guidelines outlined by the ISO standard, meaning we adhere to the same principles of traceability, accuracy, and also the rigorous quality control that ISO 17034 requires. This ensures that the reference materials we produce meet the highest industry standards even before the formal accreditation. However, the good news is that we are in the final stages of the process, and we anticipate that next year our reference materials will be fully accredited under ISO 17034, and this will provide an additional layer of trust and also credibility for our customers as they will have the official documentation to confirm that our products meet all the international standards for the reference materials.
That's good to hear. It's clear that this is a highly complex field, David, and that the amount of effort and expertise needed to develop these reference materials is impressive. With so many different types of residues and contaminants that could be mentioned, I'm curious, why has LVA decided to focus specifically on mycotoxins rather than other contaminants or residues? What makes this area such a priority for us?
Yeah, so mycotoxins have become a focal point for us because of the critical role in food safety. As we have discussed in previous episodes already, these compounds are naturally occurring toxins produced by different fungi, and they can contaminate food crops both before and after harvest. So what makes them so concerning is their toxicity and also the potential health risks they pose. So for example, aflatoxins are highly genotoxic and carcinogenic, meaning if extremely low levels can have serious health impacts, which is why regulations follow the so-called ALARA principle, which stands for as low as reasonable achievable when setting limits for aflatoxins in food. So to ensure that labs can accurately detect and measure these low levels, you need the highest quality reference materials. In addition, mycotoxins don't just affect human health, they can also severely impact livestock. This is why they are a key focus in the food supply chain. Without reliable reference materials, the risk of exposure to harmful levels of mycotoxins could be significantly underestimated, leading to potential health crises. Therefore, ensuring precise and consistent testing is very important. And beyond the direct health risks, mycotoxins are also strongly influenced by climate change and also globalization. So due to shifting weather patterns, for example, we are seeing fluctuations in the concentration of mycotoxins in crops. So warmer and more humid conditions create environments where fungi producing these toxins can thrive. This makes a robust monitoring system essential, especially since the contamination levels can vary so greatly. And as I mentioned, globalization also play a major role here. In Europe, for instance, we are heavily reliant on imported feed materials, particularly those with a higher protein content. So for feed material with a lower protein content, lower 15%, we can actually achieve a self-sufficiency rate of about 90%. But as the protein content rises, let's say between 30 to 50%, our self-sufficiency in the European Union drops to only about 20%. This means we have to import a significant amount of feed, which is often the primary source of mycotoxin contamination. So since these mycotoxins can then enter the food chain through grains or forage crops, it's essential that we have high quality reference materials to meet the rigorous analytical demands of ensuring food safety across borders. So, and the reason I keep emphasizing the importance of high quality reference materials is that when we set out to develop our own line of mycotoxin reference materials, we wanted to evaluate the quality of the products which are already available on the market, and we came across with some very interesting findings which we carried out in a specific study.
So now I'm really curious. Could you tell us more about this study, about the setup and the most significant outcomes?
Yes, of course. I mean, to give you a clearer picture of the study, we collaborated with the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, Vienna, also known as BOKU, and the University of Szeged in Hungary. So this comparative analysis, we focused on 3 mycotoxin standards, including aflatoxin B1, deoxynivalenol, and also zearalenol. So 3 very important mycotoxins. And we examined products from 10 leading market providers, resulting in a total of 30 standards, including our own standards, and published it in the journal Toxins. So to ensure a fair comparison, all the standards were brought to the same concentration level, and we then conducted an analysis using HPLC-DAD and LC-MS techniques. In order to maximize the objectivity, the HPLC analysis were performed in our LVA labs, while the LC-MS analysis took place at BOKU. So the results were quite revealing. We observed a strong overlap in the findings with deviations from the target values of up to 20%, both above and below the desired levels. Notably, 30% of all the standards fell outside the specified limits.
Oh, that's very interesting. What are actually the factors leading to these discrepancies?
Well, there were several factors which could be explaining these discrepancies. So one key issue is that some manufacturers may not regularly check the stability of their standards. So at LVA, for example, we implement a long-term monitoring system where we periodically reanalyze retained samples from past batches to determine when stability can no longer be guaranteed. Additionally, we also noticed that the testing of raw materials for final products often relies solely on techniques like LC-MS, HPLC, or even thin layer chromatography. So despite these analyses often yielding purity results above 99%, the limitations of these methods raise questions about their accuracy. In contrast, we conduct quantitative NMR analysis for our raw materials release testing at an ISO 17025 accredited laboratory, ensuring that our starting materials consistently meet the highest quality standards, and our minimum requirement is 95% purity. And giving this minimum requirement of 95%, we began to question whether the purity of the competing products truly matched their claims. And to investigate this further, we had the products analyzed using Orbitrap MS at the University of Szeged, and the results were quite concerning actually. So in nearly all of the products we detected various contaminants, even if only in small percentages. For example, aflatoxin B2 and G1 were found in aflatoxin B1 standards. Cearalenol was present in deoxynivalenol standards, and both alpha and beta cearalenol were detected in cearalenone standards. So these findings strongly suggest that the purity determinations for these competing products were not conducted accurately. It raises the question of whether quantitative NMR analysis should be mandatory for the production of such standards. And implementing the so-called QNMR could also significantly enhance the reliability of the purity assessment, ensuring that manufacturers provide products that generally meet these standards they advertise. So basically, the situation highlights how some manufacturers may cut corners for economic reasons, which inevitably leads to quality compromises in the final products. However, it's worth noting that those products offered under ISO 17034 standards generally deliver on their promises, a reality that is of course reflected in the pricing.
Wow, so those findings are indeed quite alarming, David. It's concerning to hear that so many products on the market may not be meeting the purity standards they claim, even if only in small percentages. This highlights a critical need for more rigorous testing and transparency in the industry. With this study providing such valuable insights, I'm curious to know how LVA plans to move forward with its reference materials. What can we expect in the future regarding your product line, and how will you ensure that your standards continue to meet the highest quality requirements?
So our focus moving forward is basically to fill the gaps in the reference materials market. While there is already a fairly saturated market, I would say, it's clear from our study that there is an enormous variation in quality. So part of our future efforts will certainly involve developing matrix materials. So at the moment, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are exclusively focusing on liquid standards. So it only makes sense to also expand the portfolio in the matrix material, reference material section. So currently, the market mostly offers niche products. So typically analytical matrix single combinations, but there is a noticeable lack of comprehensive multi-mycotoxin matrix materials. Creating these materials is a significant undertaking because, unlike liquid standards, the characteristic value for matrix materials aren't determined gravitatically. Instead, we establish these values using naturally contaminant materials, which requires thorough laboratory comparative studies. So this process demands a collaboration with qualified reference laboratories, ideally those accredited under ISO 1720025 and capable of performing LC-MS analytics. Unfortunately, many materials available on the market do not rely on reference analytics. Instead, they often base their values on rapid test systems like ELISA or other antibody-based methods, as well as classic strip tests, which can misrepresent the actual situation. So these quick tests may define values to promote the applicability, but they can lead to significant distortion of reality. The accuracy and the uncertainty of these methods simply cannot compete with reference methods. That's probably a reason why it's called reference analytics.
So thank you, David. As we look ahead, I have one final question. What do you see as the biggest challenges in developing high-quality reference materials for mycotoxins? And what advice would you give to other companies looking to improve the quality of their reference materials in the mycotoxin field?
So looking ahead, I see several significant challenges in developing high-quality reference materials for mycotoxins. One of the primary challenges, I think, lies in the analytics involved in the release testing. So, for instance, implementing QNMR requires highly trained personnel and sophisticated equipment. So it's crucial to have skilled professionals who can execute this analysis accurately. Additionally, the quality of the starting materials is vital. Too often we receive purified products that need further refinement. Sourcing high quality raw materials from reputable suppliers is essential for producing reliable reference materials. This leads to the ongoing cost-benefit discussion. While producing high-quality materials can be expensive, the importance of adhering to the highest quality standards cannot be or must not be overstated, especially when it comes to the consumer safety. So regulatory aspects are then also a concern. We must consider which compounds will be included in the future regulations and how guidelines regarding comparable quality standards will evolve. So long-term monitoring plays a crucial role here. Often we deal with batches of products that have long shelf lives and must be sold within that time frame. So while that's not inherently problematic, manufacturers must ensure that the product remains stable and meets the claimed specifications throughout its shelf life. So quality assurance, in this case, I think it's paramount. And moreover, creating complex materials often requires an interdisciplinary approach and the collaboration among various stakeholders. So I think the cooperation between ISO 17025 accredited laboratories can be challenging because they are often in direct competition with each other, which complicates the collaboration from the outset. However, partnerships with universities can be more straightforward, as they typically operate without the primary profit motive and focus on scientific inquiry. So having that said, there needs to be a stronger push for collaboration, I think, in the future to expand and also to improve the field of reference materials. One piece of advice I would offer to other companies is to reconsider their willingness to collaborate even if the initial business case doesn't seem immediately lucrative, ultimately we are scientists dedicated to the greater good, if you want, and not mere accountants trying to build numerical empires. So our work aims to enhance safety standards and protect consumers' health, which should always be our top priority.
Okay, so thank you, David, for these very interesting insights.
Thank you, Katharina, for having me, and it was a great pleasure to be on the other side of the interview.
If you found today's conversation as enlightening as we did and want to stay informed about future episodes, remember to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or YouTube. By subscribing, you'll never miss a bite of our delicious insights into food safety and analysis. And for those of you with burning questions or lingering curiosities related to our today's episode or any other food safety topic, don't hesitate to contact service at lva.at. Your questions will be addressed either directly in our next episode or by our team of experts on our website, www.lva.at. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, stay safe and stay informed.